Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Head in the Clouds event in which the Var Goyle is added to the game, so let's get into that. As far as the trait stone, we have ourselves some green-red. We're going to want to use this earlier on in the game on a Umberowolf to get its second trait, and later in the game you would use it on a Vargouille in order to get all of his traits. As far as this troop itself, it is pretty useless. It is the same amount of explosions as a firebomb. It does 4 random explosions. Well, in this case, it's 4 completely random instead of 1 red. It stuns an enemy, which is an okay stun for earlier on in the game. There aren't too many of them out there. And then if the enemy is divine, which isn't really that many options, it will steal 8 life. And this is not based on its magic. It is just a static 8 life steal. So not really that high at all. Even if it did it every single cast, that wouldn't even be that high. Yeah, it only does it to divine, so a little bit of a weird troop. Its traits are also near useless, other than the fact that it does 2 times skull damage to divine. Though if you were going to do this, you'd just be using a Crimson Bat instead if you were going for that kind of option. And the other 2 traits are, yeah, just useless. So as far as the troop itself, it is pretty bad. The only reason you'd really be getting it is for collection purposes, or to use it to get 400 souls per battle this week. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And for the trait stones, of course. But let's go into all the other stuff. So event objectives. We go under our events. We have 10% to all Golvania and 10% to undead. So basically 20% to all Golvania, because almost the entirety of Golvania is specifically undead, like 90% or so. As I mentioned, we get 40 extra souls whenever we use the Var Goyle, either in PvP or Explore. Probably in either casual PvP or specifically just in Explore with spamming it out with things like Sunbird Rowan. And we also end up getting all of our event gems this week simply from doing any kills at all in PvP or Explore. Again, the easiest way to go to this would be Explore. So doing some kind of Explore team would allow you to gain souls simultaneously to also getting the event objective done. Easiest way to do this is go to whichever kingdom you need trait stones from, or that you have completed. Run Sunbird Rowan Firebomb with the Var Goyle, and pretty much just keep repeating this out until you have the event completed, and you'll end up getting at least a decent amount of souls while you do so. We'll just go get a firebomb down. This is the actual real version of this troop. They both do 4 explosions, but this one is way better because you get empowered immediately. And now all we have to do is get the last little bit of our mana and we'll be good to go. So we'll take the red right there. Why are you not going to full? Take the blue. Should just taken that in the first place if it's already there, but oh well. And down it goes. And we end up getting the 40 extra souls that you see there. We get the 4 event gems, and we can just keep repeating that over and over again to go and complete both of them out while also getting some souls. So that is pretty nice. As far as the event gems this week, or event keys, I mean, specifically, it is not really that good to go and open them. There are several okay troops, but most of them are true damage related that come from Golvania. Main reason why true damage isn't really too good at the moment is the more troops that keep coming into the game, the more infinite combos that keep getting introduced into the game, and a good majority of true damage has absolutely no board control whatsoever. So a good majority of the true damage from this kingdom, like let's say Crimson Bat and Draculus for example, while their true damage is insanely good, as far as how much damage it does and its kill potential, the biggest issue with it is both of them end their turn immediately after they do their ability, and has no possible potential of keeping it on your turn, which compared to other infinite loops that might be able to just loop physical damage of some kind, either with skulls or just with board control, can essentially get infinite damage just by constantly controlling the board, whereas neither of these true troops can do that. But as far as this kingdom, things that are available: Avina, useless. The Crimson Bat, which is one of the true damage options, also the best, or one of the best divine counters in the game, since you can do 2 times damage off your blood sucking ability if they're missing HP, as well as 2 times for them being divine, so it can just tear right through them with skull spam. Draculus can end up healing up a lot. You generally see him used with a single humility or even double humility in order to give him a lot of magic and basically 1 to 2 shot the enemy team. Gains a lot of life and can be really pesky and hard to kill if you don't have an instant kill to go use it against it, like a Devourer of sorts. Other than that, other things in this kingdom: Flesh Golem, useless. Grave Knight, useless. Morthani's Will, useless. Nosferatu, useless. Umberowolf, only used for 2 things, but it's used very well in those 2 things. It's used in the best soul farming team in the entire game, and it's used in a generally on Purple Day for its Perpetual Purple Storm. So yes, you would want to have this thing before you go and bother going on to Soul Grind. One other thing that's nice is there's something in the soulforge that you synergize perfectly with it this week. And other than that, there'd be the Var Goyle and the Werewolf, and that's everything that would be within the drop table. So basically, relevant drops: Crimson Bat, Draculus, Umberowolf. The only one you actually need is the Umberowolf if you don't already have a copy of it, though. So not really too much as far as event keys. Definitely a week, I would say. Probably just skip out on it. Unless you specifically wanted one of those 3 troops. Speaking about obtaining of troops, there is quite a bit of decent stuff in this soulforge this week, or 2 particular things. One is, even though these gems generally, ever since they've added pet food, hasn't really been that worth going for, it is noteworthy to mention that Sunbird is available on the red one this week. For any newer player that doesn't currently own the Sunbird, the combination of Sunbird, Rowan, Firebomb, like we were just using in that previous battle, is insanely good if you don't already have it. And generally, the hardest component to actually obtain from that is specifically the Sunbird itself, and it is currently available at a 1 in 8 chance off these little red things. Rowan you can get for free from completing out the Forest of Thorns Kingdom and the quest line in that kingdom. And the Firebomb is a common, which you could easily just obtain from gold keys, making the Sunbird the only somewhat difficult part. Still ridiculously easy troop to get, but still, if you don't already have it, could be one way to expedite actually obtaining it. And other than that, yes, a Pharos-Ra is available. He is the best possible thing that you can ever craft with your diamonds. The only other thing that might be considered slightly worth it in some situations would be a Infernus. But as far as Pharos-Ra, he is the best soul farming troop in the entire game by a long shot. He has 150% soul gain whenever he is fully traded, which is very, very high. Generally, if you're planning on farming millions upon millions of souls, you're going to want to have 2 specific troops before you ever do so: a fully traded Pharos-Ra and a fully traded Umberowolf. And they're both available this week. Umberowolf is available through event keys if you don't already have it, and Pharos-Ra, of course, is available through the soulforge right now. So 2 of the components to create the best soul farming team in the game are both available. And for any of you that are wondering what that is, well, for one, let's go take our tribute real quick. Nice 11 tribute. But first challenge Divinity Fields. There are a few other places you could do it too. This is just where I've just kind of always had the consistency of doing it here. It's just my favorite kingdom for doing it. It's just because this specific battle right here is the lowest durability. Even though it does have that pesky agile, it's still lowest durability overall. Anyways, you put this on Warlord 2 difficulty. You cast 3 times the Dragon Soul, and then you just win. The specific team is a +2 purple, +1 red, -1 yellow banner, the Absol banner, the Dragon Soul banner, and you use it with Dragon Soul. Pharos-Ra fully traded, Azurus fully traded, and Umberwolf fully traded. And if you have a second Pharos-Ra, you replace out the Azurus with a Pharos-Ra. And if you don't have a Azurus fully traded, you can go and replace that with literally any necromancy in the game. The reason you specifically want to do an Azurus, though, is because it has that +1 purple. And again, you can just replace that with Pharos-Ra. You can even replace both of these with Pharos-Ras, though not too many people bother to have 3 of them. And essentially, all you do here is just take purple/red every single turn, get the full mana, throw Dragon Soul. The perpetual purple storm off of Umberwolf would ideally give you an extra turn right here. You cast it again, ideally extra turn right here, get all your mana back, cast it again, dead, get a bunch of souls, and repeat that over and over again until you have all the millions of souls you would ever want. And it can gain upwards of about 40,000 souls per hour, which is a pretty decent amount. As you can see from that single battle, we ended up gaining ourselves exactly 425 based on our bonuses and everything. So yeah, really, really good soul rights that you can end up obtaining from it. Very nice team to be using, and will definitely save you a lot of time having both of them in the long term for soul grinding. Of course, you would need to put a decent amount of time in it still, but it does overall save you hours upon hours upon hours having both of them simultaneously fully traded. So good idea to go and get them if you haven't already, or at least still keep saving for them into the future. Anyways, other things for the event. Let's go over the raid boss. So this week for the raid boss, I'm going to be running Mang, Carmela, Banshee, and the Var Goyle. There really isn't too much to use. As I was mentioning, there aren't really too many loops within the kingdom of Golvania. We are restricted to only using Golvania this week. And yeah, there's just not too many options within the kingdom, mainly because it lacks mana generators. And ironically, or oddly enough, this thing's like one of the best mana generators in Golvania, even though it's near useless. Just goes to show how bad mana generation is within that kingdom. I guess technically you could consider Umberwolf as a pretty decent mana generator, but there's nothing within the kingdom that would work good enough with that much purple to bother putting that much purple onto the board. But this is pretty much my game plan. You just saw I got a bullseye there. I'm using Archer fully traded, mainly because it's the most well-rounded for this. Gains half mana start on the weapon, has 15% chance to instantly kill them prior to getting a Mang off. And of course, by the time you get Mang, you're pretty much going to be one-shotting them all anyways, due to how high your skull value, how high your attack damage goes up to. So every single skull you take essentially just instantly kills. We'll use this thing. Its side effect ability is really close to useless. It just gains 6 life, which is bad. Excessively bad. Probably like the worst one they've ever added for raids. So yeah, definitely not going to be that good of a raids week this week. A lack of synergy plus the raid troop itself is bad, and it's just really clunky. But that's pretty much why I'm planning on working with. There is something kind of interesting that did come in this week though. Mostly to newer to mid-range players. It's this weapon. It's the Wall of Oblivion. It steals all of an enemy's armor, which means you actually get to accumulate it. So if you use it on something, let's say with 55 armor, well, we'll go and steal it, and then boom, that would bring us to 110 armor. You know, you steal whatever their armor is and add it to your own value. And if it's specifically a boss, it will then death mark all the other enemies. This, of course, is mainly made for within raids, but there is one other context that this may be useful, particularly to newer players, if you want to go get this weapon, is dungeons. If you go into any dungeon battle, assuming that they don't have any immune to death mark, as you can see here, every single one of the dungeon boss thingies counts as a natural boss. So you would still be able to go and throw that death mark on all 3 of the other troops while still stealing this thing's armor. So it could be worth considering that, since you can get a triple death mark pretty easily if you don't have something like a death or something else. It's not really going to be that over the top, but still, it's something to consider as a option if you didn't really have too many for it. But for the most part, that weapon is going to be pretty stagnant. Mang is way better than it. Mang is pretty much better than literally anything else at the moment. That might change in the future, but of course, still, it's a nice try, at least, of an attempt of a weapon that could potentially replace it, but it's still not going to be all the way yet, because just getting that skull damage off of Mang is way too vital for raid specifically. If your hero can tank out at least 2 hits, it's definitely worth just using a Mang instead with like Archer fully traded, or really any half mana start. Only reason specifically for Archer is because it has that slight chance of instant skull killing, which is kind of nice. Anyways, other than that, I guess we'll go and just show a PvP team, I guess, real quick with the other guy. This is going to be a cheaper version of it. You would never use this guy in late game. Even in early game, you probably wouldn't even touch this thing. But I figured I'd go over this team. It's going to be utilizing the fact that this thing stuns, since not too many things really have the capability of stunning, particularly for an extra turn chance like he does. And what we will basically be able to do here is go and boost up our honor. Every single thing that is stunned on the opposing team, we'd end up gaining 4 additional armor. So that is a potential of 16 additional armor to all allies. Every single cast that this thing does, assuming we have the entire enemy team stunned. We have Herdmaster here for mana generation and for cleanse, and we have Rowan here who's going to be using that armor to actually do a bunch of damage, because she boosts her damage based on every single bit of armor that is within play. Also, this would end up giving you that 40 extra souls per battle, though you'd probably be better off just using a standard soul farming team at that point. This is just using it just to kind of show it in here, but for the most part, this troop pretty useless. Wouldn't really realistically bother with it in anything other than just spamming Explore with it. With like a Sunbird Rowan Firebomb. But still going to be able to make it work at least somewhat okay for this. We just get it up. We already have Rowan, so I'm actually going to cast that first since we just want to go toss that immediately. We're going to throw some explosions just so we can get some stuns. Ideally, we'll actually turn into it, though of course we don't really have much control over it. Oops, I'm like trying to target a thing. I forgot. I have to go target which one I want to stun. I guess Dragon Soul, so he doesn't revive into his little thingy. Because of course he can have that 50% chance to go and transform into that other form. So we don't want him doing that. We're going to go through this on the green and ideally land it for an extra turn and get all of Rowan's mana. That's exactly what happened actually, so we'll go get that down. And as long as that stays stunned, it should be good to go. We just go clear out the board again. That'll ideally be full mana for that. It'll stay stunned, and then we just wipe it again with Rowan. And you pretty much just do that. So it's a kind of early game kind of thing that you could do if you really wanted to. Of course, your honor would have a lot less stats. Mine is pretty high because it gains 10 to all stats from its final trait. But even without that, just using its 4 times boost ratio based on all the stuns off your Var Goyle would probably be still worth using and would give you semi-similar results to that. But anyways, guys, that is pretty much everything that I wanted to mention with this. If you guys still have any other questions about anything that came out today or soul farming teams, as there is a lot of options that kind of just came in this week, definitely a great time to be getting a soul farming team built if you've been needing one. But if you still have any other questions about anything, feel free to leave it in the comment section below and I'll make sure to get to it. Anyways, thank you everyone so much for watching and have a wonderful week. Goodbye, everyone!